Good evening. This is Crash Talk. I'm Mike Harber, your host, and have a great evening planned tonight. Have a special guest, but first let me read the disclaimer. And there's an exception because my guest tonight is an attorney, so he can give legal advice. Neither I or any of my employees or other guests on the show will ever give legal advice. We're not attorneys, and if you need legal advice, you need to seek that of a practicing attorney in your area. We can help find that if necessary. But with that, let me just tell you a little bit about my guest, Paul Vayon, a personal injury attorney in the Seattle area. But Paul is really known for his expertise in property damage, and he's kind of the go-to guy by many other attorneys when they've got questions on property damage. Paul graduated in 2003 magna cum laude from Seattle University, but Paul also has a Bachelor of Science degree in physics. So kind of an interesting combination. I know you're going to enjoy the time that we spend with Paul this evening. And I asked him if he was willing to come on the show, and he just so graciously agreed to come and to speak with us about topics. And I asked him, what would you like to talk about? And he came up, well, wait, let me let you hear it from him.
The topic that I picked were the top 10 meritless excuses for delaying, denying, and discounting auto property damage claim.
All right, well, let's talk about the 10 excuses.
All right, so where do you want to start? Just generally, or repairs, or diminished value, or rental cars?
Well, you remember back in the day when we did Crash Talk, and when I got your text message, I wanted to go back and find the book because I had that law professor from Rutgers University as one of the guests years ago who wrote the book, Delay, Deny, Defend.
Right.
And very interesting that a law professor would write a book like that, recognizing how insurance companies manage losses.
Right.
So, and you've identified
that's why I picked discount. I didn't want to copyright infringe the guy's title.
Oh, I got you. Okay. All right. Well, you got your own title now.
Because they do. There's in property damage circumstances, the biggest problem that I've found is not necessarily outright denying. It's shaving. It's nickel and diming away a claim, a little bit here, a little bit there, so that the amount in controversy is too small to fight. But as an accumulation, it saves the insurance companies billions of dollars over the course of a year, over the course of all the claims in the entire country. But on any given case, shaving $50, what's anybody going to do about that?
Yeah. Well, it sure seems to me that the other motive of doing that is the whole delay process. And then the longer it's delayed, I was just reading a letter from another attorney from the Seattle area that was just expressing the frustration in dealing on these property damage cases because so many of her clients, they're making it from paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And you don't have a car to drive because they've cut the rental off, and you're trying to get back to your life, and what do? And they keep delaying the process to where they get you so worn down that you're just going to have to accept whatever they're putting on the table.
Right.
And it's sad to see that, especially with some of these people that are really hurting financially, and especially right now.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other delay tactics?
All right. So I'll start with right at the crash scene. So call your insurance company from the crash scene. Sure, we'll tow your car for you. Do you need us to recommend a repair shop?
And you're stressed.
The
And of
last thing
course,
you're thinking of at the scene of a car crash is, what shop do I take my car to? You just need to get this, wrecked car off the road. The cop is breathing down your neck saying they're going to take it to impound. So you call your insurance company and say, I need this thing towed right now. Just get it out of here. And they say, sure, we'll be happy to do that. There's a Service King or an Abra right down this. Pick your network insurance shop, and before you even know it, without the policyholder even putting any thought into it, that car's at the insurance company's DRP, and they save money. Fun, done.
yeah,
All in the sake of convenience and taking advantage of somebody who is in a position where they do not have the time to make decisions about that right now.
well, and they're stressed.
Right.
And the adrenaline's flowing and everything else. And like you say, you've got to make a decision. And sometimes they may even know in their own mind where they've even had repairs done in the past that they were satisfied. But at the moment, you're at the mercy. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the first, and that's that. There was a Bob Clem from San Diego. He coined the little phrase that's your second accident.
Right.
You just got into your second accident by making the wrong choice at the body shop.
Yeah. So next thing that happens from the crash scene, okay? So or the day after, and have you heard this one? We tell people all the time, use your own insurance company. But what do you do when you call your own insurance company? What you hear from the person in the call center is, well, if the other driver's insurance has accepted fault for the crash, just use them or else your rates might go up.
Right.
For this rear end crash you were in that obviously wasn't your fault.
Yeah. Doesn't that border a little bit on bad faith? I mean, don't they have a duty to give you good advice? Not to, I mean, or I've been even thinking recently about some of the things insurance companies do, because, they have that disclaimer about insurance fraud on the bottom of everything. An insurance company can commit insurance fraud also.
Well, that's what bad faith and the Consumer Protection Act is. That's insurance fraud. It's just vice versa. Right?
Okay.
The definition of a Consumer Protection Act violation is an unfair and deceptive act or practice.
Okay.
So
all right.
It's just not what we traditionally think of as insurance fraud. Now, is saying use the other driver's insurance company because your rates might go up? Is that fraud? There's actually a regulation that says that an insurance company should not deny a claim solely on the basis that another party is responsible. So if a policyholder insists on filing a claim with their own insurance company, they can't get a letter in the mail that says we are denying your claim because some other insurance company has accepted fault.
Right.
And underwriting, setting premiums, is very deliberately a black box at an insurance company. Insurance agents, customer service representatives have no idea why underwriters make the decisions they make. And the underwriting department kind of wants to keep it that way. They don't want anybody, even at the company, to know why they're adjusting premiums the way they're adjusting them. And so the person who is trained to say, if you report this claim, your rates might go up, or if you have too many crashes, we might non-renew your policy. If you put them on a polygraph, they'd pass it. They think they're telling the truth. because that's what they've been trained. And they don't have any hard data otherwise. And it's off. Yeah. But anyway, we know that if you file a claim with your own insurance company, you have more rights, and your outcome is going to be better than if you use the other driver's insurance company. You've just
Right.
got more ways to assert your rights.
Well,
But
they have that contractual duty to you, whereas the at-fault party's insurance company doesn't have any duty to you at all. It's to their insured.
yeah, exactly. And if there's a dispute with your own insurance company, you've got appraisal, there's no lawsuits involved. Appraisal has problems, but lawsuits definitely have problems. Um, but yeah, we hear that all the time. Just use the other company. Your rates might go up.
You know, I certainly want to hear all of the excuses you have, but let me just ask, you know, you have, if you have insurance and you have an accident and it's not your fault, it's my understanding, I believe I've read this before, that you have a duty to inform the insurance company that you've had an accident, even if you're not going to use them for the claim.
Correct.
And if you come back at a later date and you want to use them, but you didn't report it to them, they can deny the claim on that basis.
Not only deny the claim, but they can, even if you never do make the claim, if your policy ever comes up for renewal and they do a deep dive, then they can just not renew your policy. Say, sorry, we don't want you as a customer anymore.
Huh.
Yeah, no, you're supposed to report every crash to the insurance company, whether it's your fault or not, filing a claim or not. When I was at Safeco Claims for a couple of years, a good 20% of our claims ended up as what's called CWOP, CWOP, closed without payment.
Really?
Info only, just for tracking purposes.
Huh. Yeah. Well, that was always my understanding. And I've told people that before. I've never got an attorney to confirm that that's accurate, but I believe that it
Well,
was.
and it does make a big deal in the context of an underinsured motorist claim, because oftentimes the beginning of a case, you have no idea that you're going to need your underinsured motorist coverage.
Right.
And then surprise, a year later, you find out you do.
Right.
In the injury context or diminished value or somehow. Most of the time, if you open your UIM claim at that point, the adjuster is just going to let it go and handle the UIM claim. But they do have the right to conduct an investigation into the facts of the loss and inspect property. There's all sorts of information gathering that they have the right to do, and that the policyholder has a duty to let them do, that if the claim isn't reported right away, they don't have the opportunity to do. So I can see a claim getting denied because it was reported too late.
Right.
Even if
Right.
there was no obvious ask of the insurance company for money until well after the crash happened. I don't think that happens very commonly.
Right.
I think most of the time, if you file a UIM claim well after the incident, but right as soon as you find out that you need that coverage, most adjusters in my experience will just say, oh, geez, okay, change in circumstance, we'll get on this.
But if they had never been just even put on notice in the very beginning, then technically they could deny the claim. Technically, right?
Technically, yes. I think in practice that would be it'd be a little risky for them, and I think it's a rare circumstance that it happens, but it could. Like if the insurance company was already looking for some kind of reason to deny the claim, that would be a really easy one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Very tough to fight.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to hear the rest of your your
Okay.
explanation of denials
Okay.
and delaying.
Got it. Got another one for you.
All right.
For diminished value, about the body shop repaired your car to the industry standard, so there is no diminished value. You ever heard that one?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. And
What do you think about that, Mike?
uh-huh.
What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, I mean, I hear stuff like that so often. They'll even come back and say the vehicle's been repaired to pre-loss condition. And it's just like, well, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's not even possible in most cases.
Right. But I mean, I know that I picked the term industry standard because I imagined as soon as I said that, I was actually hoping for your face to turn a lot more red and for your eyes to bug out a lot more than they did. I think you're getting like more mellow as time goes by.
Well, either more mellow or I don't know, maybe more calloused because it's, I guess I should have actually come down to my list too, knowing this is what we're going to talk about to see if we can compare notes. But
well,
maybe
hey, if you think of one, jump in. So what does that mean? What in you're actually more boots on the ground in terms of collision repair than me. Used to own a shop, public adjuster. What do you think? We know that the term industry standard for collision repair doesn't actually have a definition, but what is it? What do they think it means? What does the insurance industry think it means?
Well, I think this, insurance companies, they're working on 10, 20, 50-year plans.
Yeah.
They're like dinosaurs. They move very slow, but they got a lot of power, a lot of influence, but they're very slow. And I think they throw that out there enough. The industry standard. And then they have their corral of all of these shops that are doing it their way to be a good partner with their insurance buddies. And all of a sudden, if you've got a lot of those type of shops out there and they keep talking about the industry standard and the majority of the shops are repairing things with baling wire and duct tape, then that becomes the standard. And
go ahead.
Well, and so I really see that they're really beginning to affect what is considered, what is the industry standard. Now, I always want to go back to, it's just real simple. Is it pre-loss? Yes or no? And when you look at a vehicle and there's buckles in the frame rail, or you've got 2 coats of paint on some panels, that's not pre-loss. Now, it might look good, but it's not pre-loss. And then that's why you've got a loss in value. But it even goes a little bit further. I mean, some of these repairs are so bad. And if they can say, well, that's the industry standard, that's frightening. And I believe it was last week when Tony was on, we were talking about the biggest concern for consumers. And the biggest concern for consumers is the lack of knowledge and understanding. And you're listening to these insurance people that don't repair cars, and they really don't understand the technical difficulty and all of the computers and airbag timing and everything that goes into these vehicles nowadays. I mean, the industry has changed. Collision repair has changed so much in the last, 10 years for sure. But, in the last 40 years, they're just completely different. I mean, they're not even comparable to what used to be on the road. Anyway, and that was kind of our topic last week. And so, now we're talking about, what do the insurance companies say and do in order to delay and deny these claims? Well, you can't make a claim for diminished value because it's been repaired to industry standard, or it's been returned back to the way it was. It's just.
Well, so for example, lawyers have rules of professional conduct, right? They're written down. They're legal rules. The Washington State Bar Association can enforce them. There's conflict of interest rules we can't do, competence, communication, don't steal from your clients, all sorts of stuff. Insurance companies have fair claims settlement practices regulations. Doctors can commit malpractice. There's a standard of care for them. It's not quite written down. Each one of those cases, you need another doctor expert to say what the standard is, but you can get a doctor expert to come to court and say a reasonable physician in XYZ area would approach ABC problem with 1, 2, 3 solution. Where is the industry standard written down? How the heck do you know if a body shop has not performed an industry standard repair? Where can you verify that?
Well, you just actually touched on another topic, and that's the fact that, you go to, a hairstylist and they have to have a license. I'm a public adjuster. I have to have a license.
Yeah.
I'm also a car dealer. I have to have a license. There's continuing education. There's a bond in order to protect the public if I do something wrong. Body shops aren't required to have anything. You could go hang a shingle and call yourself a body shop, and you start working on people's cars. I think that the short answer to that is, what does the manufacturer say? Because they have
that might be the right answer, but we know it's not the real answer.
No. I know, but that you have to rely on something. And body shops are a little bit of a loose cannon. And I know when I owned my own shop, there's so much resistance about requiring licensing, continuing education, and bonding. Yeah. They don't want to see that, but I think that's going to have to happen. I think it's unfortunate. Change doesn't take place until people die.
Yeah.
And
what was the name of the shop? John Eagle.
Down in Texas.
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah. That was a pretty egregious example of it, but I don't know. That didn't change a whole lot.
No, that's still percolating along though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you start seeing more and more of that type of thing. It's going to get people's attention, but it's sad that that has to take place. I mean, we see cars that are so poorly put back together that it's just a matter of time. And I've said it over and over again. You end up with this, the 5 o'clock evening news, and they're reporting on this vehicle that crossed the center line, was hit by a semi truck. There wasn't enough left of the car to be able to determine why did they go across the center line. Right. There was no blood there was no alcohol or drugs in the person's system, and yet to lose control, go across the line in the middle of the day. So something happened to that vehicle, and we've seen too many of them that we've inspected that could have been that vehicle.
How many cars have you seen have front end crashes where you know damn well the airbag should have gone off and it didn't, and wondered, I wonder if this is the first time this car's ever been in a front end crash? Yeah. And who knows, whether the person driving it got hurt worse than they would have with an airbag. It's hard to say, but I've had a couple of those where I've given some side eye to the damage photos, saying, boy, if that front end crush damage doesn't blow the airbag, what exactly would it take to do it?
Well, thank you, Paul. That was a great interview. Thank you for your time. And I always learn new things about insurance and claims and the law every time I talk with you. Just really good information. And obviously, we didn't get through the entire list of the meritless excuses for delaying, denying, and discounting property damage claims. So not to be discouraged, we will have a follow-up with the rest of the list. And I would hope that we can get Paul back to tell us how to address each of those. That would be a great great evening to hear how he would address each of these excuses. So with that, remember, wear your mask, keep your distance, stay safe, have a great weekend. Hope to see you same time, same place next week. This has been Crash Talk.